everyone. So today we are joined by Riley with Ferguson for our employer spotlight. And so we're just going to start by having Riley introduce herself, and then we'll open it up for the questions that I have prepared. If there's anybody joining us live, you can ask questions in the comments on Facebook. But Riley, can you just start by briefly introducing yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Alexis. My name's Riley Kampf. I'm a recruiting specialist with Ferguson Enterprises. So excited to be here today and talk about Ferguson a little bit.
Yeah, thanks. We're really excited to have you here. So our first question is just for you to tell us a little bit about Ferguson and what exactly the company does and where there are some locations.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, and I have absolutely been in those shoes, I knew exactly nothing about Ferguson when I first started, but just to give a little bit of a high level overview. So Ferguson is a construction wholesale company. So basically what we do is we sell a bunch of different types of products that have to go within a couple different divisions that we have. Pretty much everything to do with construction, Ferguson kind of has their hands in. In terms of locations, we are a very large company. So actually located in all 50 states. So tons of room there. We can get into that a little bit later. As well as, like I mentioned, we are at the end of the day, a distribution company. So that also brings our 10 distribution centers that we have strategically located across the United States to pretty much get the product to our customers. So yeah, a little bit about us in terms of, construction as well as some of those locations.
Yeah, thank you. So our next question is, what kind of jobs and internship opportunities do you currently have open at Ferguson?
Yeah, absolutely. So for internships, I'll talk about that a little bit. As of right now, we are a little bit on the, I guess, lower side than we normally would be due to kind of some of those current circumstances. So we have a few internships, some related to supply chain, some related to kind of some internal auditing. Those would take place most likely over the summer, or mostly over the summer is when those take place. And they also take place usually at our headquarters in Newport News, Virginia. So that's a little bit on those internships. Those can be found on our careers site. Some of those are live today. But primarily what we are hiring for is full-time entry-level training programs. We have quite a few of those spanning with sales all the way to supply chain, as well as some on our financial side of the business as well. So I would like to talk about most likely our largest, pretty much our largest program that we have that I actually started my career with Ferguson in is our inside sales training program. So for this one specifically, we have almost 200 needs in this one starting in our August class. So looking for tons of candidates, tons of positions that we have all across the country. And this one primarily focuses on basically our existing customer base at Ferguson. So really more of an account manager position where you're working directly with our customers daily, making sure they get the product that they need and just pretty much helping them with anything to help them be successful in their jobs. So again, a kind of a high level overview, that's pretty much what we're hiring for.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of great opportunities. How would our students go about applying for those positions, whether it's the internships or the full-time or the sales program?
Yep, absolutely. So those, just as I mentioned, are going to be starting in the summer. So those entry-level programs, the full-time ones, primarily starting in August of this year. So actively interviewing for those as of right now. I know August seems like a long ways out, but it goes by really quick. So those can be found on our career site, or shoot me an email, LinkedIn, whatever works. I can point you in the right direction if you can't find those on our career site.
Awesome. Thank you. And are there any other future opportunities that you are anticipating to fill, or is it mainly those internships in the program that you mentioned?
Yeah, so that's what we're primarily hiring and interviewing for as of right now. However, we do hire predominantly twice a year. So we hold those entry-level training programs twice a year. So that's to accommodate, for the most part, that May graduate as well as the December graduate. So we will be in full swing once we get all those filled, looking to fill the next class. So tons of opportunities. If you're not graduating in May, keep us on the radar. Those will be coming shortly.
Awesome. That's great information to know. So for those positions that you mentioned, what kind of experiences make candidates a good fit for those?
Yeah, so good question. And this is something that I get asked quite a bit. These being entry level programs, we don't expect you to have years and years of experience. I can tell you, I had absolutely no construction experience whatsoever when I started with Ferguson. What we look for primarily is maybe you've had a part time job. That's something that you can definitely speak to and also highlight on your resume. Maybe if you are involved in a club on campus. So, you're involved in maybe organizing meetings or maybe you're like a campus ambassador, something like that. Or maybe you're involved in a fraternity or sorority. Those are all great experiences that, recruiters love to hear about, especially us at Ferguson. Like I said, not looking for years of experience, just maybe a part-time job, club on campus, fraternity, sorority, really anything like that, that can show that you can balance school as well as some extra things in your life. I think that that's a very beneficial way to kind of go about it.
Yeah, awesome. So aside from that, is there anything else that a student could include on their resume to make them stand out amongst all the resumes that you all receive?
Yeah. So for Ferguson, especially, we don't use any kind of like artificial intelligence. We screen all of our resumes. So I will say a little bit of advice to kind of speaking toward that. Highlight the things that you're most proud of at the top. That's kind of where all of our eyes tend to go right away. Highlight your education, what major you are, what year you're graduating. Maybe highlight some of those courses that you've taken and you've done some special projects in. Those are all very relevant things that can definitely relate to some of those entry level programs as well as any kind of career that you're looking for.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that advice. Moving on to our next question, can you tell us a little bit about Ferguson's company culture and why you like working at Ferguson?
Yeah, definitely. Culture was a really big piece for me, as I'm sure it is for a lot of you. That's a hot topic these days. So with Ferguson, especially, I definitely did not think that I was going to be selling construction products right out of college. But it was really the culture that drew me to the company. So, getting to meet a ton of different associates throughout the interview process, even though things are switching to virtual, we are still doing that just because we know that that's such an important piece when you guys are trying to find positions and, potentially a company that you're going to work for. So, definitely incorporating those networking pieces in so you can really get a feel for the company culture. But just to speak to it a little bit in my experience, everybody is very welcoming. Going through the entry level program myself, it was a little bit intimidating, not knowing a lot. And I just felt that the entire time, no matter what branch I worked for in, a different area, I was able to ask those questions and get the help that I needed. So that's a really big one. We always like to say, if you were to be in a room of 10 Ferguson associates, 9 times, if not all 10 of them, they're going to say their favorite part of the company is the people. And that's something that is definitely still true to this day. So even though it's a large company, what's very unique is that we're still able to kind of have that family atmosphere. And that's really, like I said, what makes it unique.
Awesome. Sounds like a great place to work. I'm actually going to go off of that. You mentioned virtual interviewing and things like that. What does the interview process look like for Ferguson with it being virtual? Like, what can our students expect? Is there anything that they need to prepare for in that sense?
Yeah, I can actually give a little bit of insight to that. So, if you apply to one of our entry level programs, we actually start out with a text interview. So, this is something that's pretty unique. I know a lot of companies aren't doing this, but something that Ferguson's been doing for about 3 years now and has proven to be pretty cool. So, just some very short screening questions. And then after that, it's a one-way kind of recorded interview. So, we just ask 3 very simple questions. This really shouldn't take longer than 15 minutes. We don't expect perfection. If your dog barks or you have somebody mowing the lawn next door, it's absolutely no problem. So that's another one, just really getting a feel for you, asking you some questions, just seeing if you would be a good fit for us as well as us being a good fit for you. That's important. And then the third round is a phone screen with myself or another recruiter on our team. And then after that is what we call the final round of interviews. So I know I talked about that a little bit, and that is virtual now. So giving you a chance to come in with other people that are also applying for this position. And like I said, filling a lot of positions across the country. So pretty large programs. You get to come in, learn about Ferguson a little bit, hear from myself, the recruiting team, and network with some other associates, which is really important. And, play some games. We try to make it as fun as we can in the virtual times. And then The last piece would be 3 final interviews. So just 30-minute interviews, just casual conversation, kind of like we're having now,
Mhm.
with some hiring managers. So that's pretty much how the process works. And it goes pretty quick. So I know it seems like a lot, but it goes really quick.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what advice do you have for students who are searching for jobs and internships during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a really important piece is obviously when you're starting out in a new position, it can be uncomfortable because, you don't really know the company well. Maybe you've never even met the people that you're talking to. And that kind of is relevant in the world that we're living in today. But I think just really finding a company where, like I said, you can ask questions and feel comfortable, going to somebody if you're having some trouble or, you don't understand something. So I know that's something that can be a little bit tough in the virtual setting. And that's something that we try to ease as well with our entry level programs. Everybody's starting out in the same boat, and not a lot of people have construction industry knowledge or maybe sales knowledge or anything like that. Really, just training you from the ground up. So my advice would be, try to find a company that has some sort of really good training, just so
Mm.
you can feel comfortable, especially in the virtual world. You're not going to be sitting next to somebody all the time where you can just lean over and ask some questions. So that's my biggest takeaway. And that training is really the foundational piece and really what's going to help you be successful in your role. So I'd say that's my biggest advice.
That's great advice. Thank you for sharing that, especially with things being virtual right now, making sure that training program is going to fill the needs that you have. So our next question is, why do you like hiring UT Vols for your positions?
Yeah, absolutely. So, really good question. One of my favorites to answer. I actually had the opportunity to be on campus right before COVID, and honestly loved the culture. I felt that just the culture of the entire campus. Everybody was so nice and friendly and helpful, and I really feel that that aligns well with Ferguson. I know, Ferguson has had a longstanding relationship, and a lot of the students that we hired, all the students that we've hired really have proven to be great fits for Ferguson and have fit into our culture well. And I know that's an important piece in a lot of what you're looking for. You tend to spend more time with the people that you work with than your own family sometimes. So
Mhm.
really important to find somewhere where, you can fit in well with that culture. And that's the biggest piece. And it's with our training programs, it's really what you make of it. And we find that, UT students really tend to get in there, get their hands dirty, ask the right questions, and really put forth the most effort that they can to get the most out of the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you. So that was all the questions that I have, and it doesn't look like we have any comments on our Facebook, but is there anything else that you would like to share about Ferguson that you feel like we didn't hit on today that our students might need to be aware of?
Yeah. So we hit on a lot of points. I know it's probably a lot of information all at once, but biggest thing that I would say is, when looking for a career, like I said, find that culture fit, find that company that you feel comfortable with. Of course, we would love for it to be Ferguson, but at the end of the day, like I said, you're going to be spending more time with those people than you are your own family sometimes. So just find what works for you and, talk to as many companies as you can. So that's just kind of my high level, advice, just career search in general.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, Riley. And our students will certainly connect with you at our upcoming job fair, as well as, if they have any questions, you said that they could connect with you on LinkedIn. And so we hope that they'll follow up with that. But we really appreciate you and Ferguson participating in our employer spotlight today.
Yeah, absolutely.